Personal growth, personal learning, conferences, webinars.
Don't sound so excited, Alise.
Let's have a chat.
So we went to Asset yesterday.
Tell the people what Asset is.
It's a conference held at the Huntington Hilton, which is located in Melville.
We had that conversation yesterday. You think it's the Huntington Hilton, but it's actually not even near Huntington, really.
You would think it's more north, but
yeah.
It's south of the LA.
I was glad that I double-checked the actual location because I was going to the Marriott for some reason. I don't know why.
I actually had to call Victoria that morning because the previous conference I was at the Melville Marriott, so I got confused.
That's what screwed me up is because the one that I met you at with Nikki that time. I was like, oh yeah, it's at that one, and then I looked at it, I'm like, oh wait, this is a completely different opposite direction.
Funny. So, what'd you guys think?
I thought it was pretty decent. Keynote, However, after the keynote, I thought the sessions were beneficial in kind of just seeing what else is going on in other districts.
Yeah. I think sometimes when you see a keynote that's like seriously dynamic, it's hard to like change to something else. Like I just saw George Kiros at my last conference for the day, and I just feel like
that's what a keynote should be.
Yeah, it's hard to like follow that up. You know what I mean? Because he is amazing. But what'd you think?
It was my first one, so I thought it was cool.
Did you like the vendors? Asset's kind of a cool one because it has like all those vendors that you can like walk through.
Yeah. I didn't really like get the time to stop at all of them, but like I quickly looked. Like Google was there for education, which was cool. We saw CSDNet, who we work with. Tech was there. Who else? It was pretty cool to see all that. Securely was there. Konica Minolta, a lot of vendors that we already work with, which is cool to kind of just put faces to these people you most of the time email or talk to on the phone. No, but the sessions were pretty cool. Did an esports one, which was really cool. It kind of gave us some ideas and maybe some other avenues to kind of like grow with the program over time, which was pretty cool. We did a few of us did the AI seminar like later in the afternoon, which was interesting. That was packed out. It's funny because like that's just like the next wave of things. It's insane. It's like very like early stages of it, so it's only going to get better. It's like a whole other topic to get on, but it's cool to play around with it.
So like it's interesting to see like what other districts are or how they're really handling it. Like some districts are leaving it open, some districts have it closed. One district that I was talking to yesterday is actually pro it, like very much moving forward with it.
Yeah.
And they're doing trainings on like how they can like bring it into the classroom and like let the students be aware of it and how teachers can actually appropriately use it. So I thought that was like
very cool.
Because when you first hear about the topic, it's like
you
have to stay away from it. This is not good. But I guess they're taking the other side of things and like how can we actually embrace it and use it.
Well, I mean, the bottom line from my angle is like it's there. Yeah. So blocking it here. I mean, again, this is just my opinion. I'm doing whatever everybody asks me to do. However, blocking it here is not going to stop them from getting on their phone, going on their computer at home. Sometimes it's
you're doing more damage by
you're fighting a war that you're not going to win in that regard, and sometimes just the increased awareness and saying like, how can I use this for good? It was cool because the three of us, we were all in that Padlet. We all went to a Padlet workshop, and I thought it was super cool because shout out to 3 Village, I love those guys. But they when they opened up their workshop, they used Chat GPT, even though he was calling it Chat GTP, he was messing it up. But he used it to write a rap, write a poem, and write like just a paragraph blurb about what Padlet was. And it was really cool to show the transformation or the way in which, Chat GPT was able to like, transform that knowledge. And it gave me a lot of kind of like thought or ideas on like how to use that for good. But, every district is at a different place and everyone's, growth process takes a different time. So hopefully one day we'll be there where, we can embrace certain things like that. But I do get it from a classroom teacher's perspective, how initially that kind of, until you can catch your bearings on it, at the very least you'd want it blocked while the kids are like in the classroom.
Right.
Because when you're giving them something to do, you would want it blocked. I do get that. But I just think the whole idea of going to conferences and encouraging, personal learning and that is really important. I know that when I first started here in Connecticut, 20 plus years ago, you couldn't even like put in to go on a conference. Like that was like not even, it wouldn't even have been approved. Like nobody went out of district, nobody got a training on anything. It was not the way it was.
That's crazy.
It was not encouraged. And then as time went on, it really became more of a culture of like, get out there, go to BOCES, go to these conferences. And I am very proud of what the district has done for the staff here in just getting more trainings available to the staff, whether it be by the internal people they're hiring to help support the staff, or the encouragement of sending out the teachers or getting people to come in with TC or the math programs or anything that we're doing new here. Even within the department, we have someone that's looking into getting a training program for the engineers and technicians in the department for more training. I think it's necessary. It's a culture. To create a culture of learning isn't easy, but you have to sustain that. And I think part of that is something that we did yesterday, even if it was, one thing that the three of us went to and learned together. It's kind of cool to have that experience to take away from,
I think a big part about these conferences, one is you get to choose like what breakout sessions you're going to.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've never been to something like that, you always, like, my expectation for my first conference was like, oh, everyone goes to the same thing. However, for like Asset or Long Island Technology Summit, it's you all go to the keynote, and then there's like a list of workshops that you can attend, and you can go to 3 different opportunities. So I thought that was cool. And secondly, I don't even remember what the second part
was.
Secondly was. No. It'll come to me in about a minute.
Yeah.
Or 2. Maybe 5.
Like I said, I part of, for me in taking on this role and this job, is I really saw a need or a niche for like everybody to be able to learn. Like I was so shocked to come to find how many of the members of the IT team were just like self-taught. It's like, well, how did you know how to do that? Like, well, I watched a webinar during work time while I was doing 17 other things, and I just figured it out. Or I set it up, and I set it up wrong, and that's how I learned to set it up right. You know what I mean? And that is great. There's something to be said for that. But I think part of what I've been trying to do is be able to like bring at least the management team out more, or get training for people in areas that they need it, or support that time in the day that people need, because I was impressed but also shocked by that, because it's impressive how far everybody's come with just kind of like self-teaching. However, I really do believe that learning or making yourself a lifelong learner and committing to that is important. And if your boss doesn't give you the ability or the encouragement to do that, then it doesn't become that like self-sustainable ideal that you're able to do it. So I was glad to see how many of the members of the team like wanted to come yesterday and wanted to learn. So I think whether you're a teacher, whether you're a custodian, whether you work in the in the cafeteria, whether you're working out of the nurse's office, like there's always something you can learn to do better at your job, to serve your community better. And I really have to say that I do think we do a good job of that here. Encouragement, the leadership team encouraging other members of the staff to learn. I think there's opportunity here for learning on a really grand scale. Even the elementary schools, how they have like the grade level meetings, and they try to give everybody the chance for collaboration. And even if it's not a training, just the opportunity for collaboration is an opportunity to learn. They always say the smartest person in the room is the room. So getting everybody together in the room to talk. Look at this face you're making at me.
Yeah, because you told me at one point that you didn't like that.
Well, because everybody uses it.
And now you're using it, Alise.
I didn't say I said. I said they say. Because this is what other people say.
Hey, I remembered my secondly. Networking.
Yes.
because I'm one person here, and so it's hard, like, the day-to-day is, like, you know, you're focused so much on what's going on here, and, like, the platforms we have here, and then if you come into, like, a situation where you're trying to figure something out, you're the only person you have to figure it out with is basically you. But going to these events, you connect with other people that have the same job as you or a similar job than you, and you can bounce off of ideas with each other. So I think, like, going to these things, and even if it's like a classroom teacher doing something that you wish to bring to your district, you can collaborate with them.
Yeah. I thought it was cool because we were there with the computer science and engineering team yesterday on the elementary level and the middle school level. And actually there was some of the teachers, they're not necessarily, I think they teach the classes here in the high school, but they said that the conference is like the best thing, that every year they come back with like new things that they're putting into their curriculum to do with their kids, which I thought was great. I was really happy to see how many of the instructional staff actually took up the offer to be able to go and kind of show up there and bring new things. They said that a lot of the new things that they bring are things that they learn from other schools or other people, or things that they connect to at the conference.
That's how we got Nearpod here, actually. It wasn't from a conference, but it was a site visit at Huntington. And we've always dabbled with Nearpod, but we didn't fully implement it until we went to Huntington. And they had us and a few other districts go in, and the teachers were just doing their thing. They were teaching, and they told them, like, have the focus be on Nearpod for, like, these few days. And we went on one of the days, and we did some classroom visits, and we saw, like, how a social studies teacher used Nearpod in their lesson, how a math teacher implemented Nearpod, and it really gave us insight that no matter what you taught or what grade level you taught, like, this can be implemented, and it didn't have to be a whole class period. It was only for, like, maybe 10 or 15 minutes of the 40-minute period, and that's when we brought it in specifically for the special ed teachers, and then for everyone at that point. So
yeah, that is cool. And I feel like that was where I really made the connection with, like, 3 Village, was when I met them at a conference. And I think that, you know, administratively, like, making connections with them over there has been, you know, it's been good for me, you know what I mean? Because they're a district that's, like, a similar size, and how they handle things and how they do things. It's nice for me to, like, bounce ideas off them. I know when we were doing the digital SAT, Gary from over there called multiple times, and we were able to kind of, like, you know, troubleshoot with them when they were having an issue. So it's nice to create connections with other districts and not kind of, like, work alone on an island for us. You know what I mean? Right. Because there is a lot that we're doing every day, and it's nice to be able to just say, you know, call over to so-and-so, call over to Bayshore and see what they did, and then we can kind of see if that works for us. You know, everyone's different, but that doesn't mean you can't, you know, take feedback from other people. It's similar to what you did as a teacher, you know what I mean? There, you know, I had my, you know, team of teachers that all taught 11th grade, and it was like, listen, what did you do for this? And everybody kind of was able to share information. For us, it's not as easy. It's like we kind of have to reach outside and go to another district, because it's not like there's another internal IT team, and what are they doing? But, you know, I think that was cool. I liked to see the way that, you know, we just are getting Padlet in the district for licensing, so I thought it was nice to go to see how they use it. And it was also kind of, we didn't necessarily learn anything new there, but it was nice to kind of validate, okay, we just got this, and they have it, and they're using it for all the same ways and reasons that we're going to use it, so it made me feel like we made a good choice, you know what I mean? So that kind of validated that as well.
I mean, it was cool to see, like, multiple, like, uses for it, different ways to utilize it and things like that. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I also liked how you guys came and kind of heard, whether or not we love the keynote separate, but you on the engineering end got to kind of see a lot more in depth, or hear a lot more about what we're trying to do in the classroom, and see that type of stuff. I think it's important, you know?
Of course.
I think when you work in IT and you don't work in a school, it's easier to just do kind of like your job behind the scenes and not necessarily have like a vested interest in like what the end user's experience. But when you work in a school and you're dealing with kids and kids are learning, it's like you actually get to see, you know, where I saw it on the front end as a teacher, like what my impact was. I think it's kind of cool in a different way to see what our impact is here, because it's like actually very dynamic. You just don't see it on a regular basis, you know what I mean? which I think is cool. I look at like what we've done with Google and ClassLink, just those two things in general, just those two things. And I'm like, look what we've done for kids. You know what I mean? Look what we've done for kids.
They're using it every day. It's not like something that they're using at all, like once a quarter or once a semester. It's something that they're utilizing every single day to get to
like we had that one student in here that one time who was having some trouble with her Chromebook, and she was like, oh no, I just click here and then I go over there, and I'm like, wow, you know, like they are really utilizing this more than I ever imagined that they would, which she could have taught me a thing. She did teach me a thing or two, not that she could have. So,
and they find different ways to navigate. Like, we'll see it in one way. Like, we're like, okay, they're going to use this platform to get to other platforms, but they find other ways to utilize it.
Yeah, speaking of which, I have to send an email over to Joe and Brian to get a follow-up in that principal's coffee hour. I want to come back to talk to those kids again, because we've actually done a couple of things that they requested, so I'm going to reach out to them before I leave today to say, when's your next one? We want to come back. So I think that's good. Listen, it's all about the learning, right? Whether you're going to a conference or you're doing it somehow in your daily practice. You know, for me, I think for a little bit in this job, rightfully so. I mean, I don't pretend like the job is not overwhelming in a lot of ways, but I think when I first came on, I was a little overwhelmed by all the things I had to learn that I forgot to continue to be passionate about learning. And I think that now that I'm like 2 years in and I'm starting to like, I when it comes to like what's going on every day on the technical end, I'm much more comfortable with that. I think I'm kind of starting to get back to becoming passionate about learning in that way that I was when I was like, you know, nuts over Nearpod and just learning Nearpod as a platform. I feel like looking at Padlet and looking at all the things that Padlet can do is there's an excitement over learning new ways that we can introduce that. Even to like, I think about how the kitchen staff could use that if they had like a TV in their office of like, just like jobs, daily jobs, and putting them in the shelf, and like anybody in district could use something like that organizationally. And it's really, the things you can do in it are like super cool.
That shelf view reminded me of Asana. I know we use that internally. It's you know, the work task.
Yep, it does. It reminded me of that
Asana.
too. Yeah.
Or even to an extent, Google Keep.
Yeah.
Like keep your notes stacked. Obviously, it's a little bit more in depth as far as the way it looks. It's not very simplistic.
Yeah, I think like everything has its purpose, but some of them are like certainly crossover purposes, and you could use any which one of the things for those things. But you know, I've always loved to learn. I think that's part of what excites me about this job, is that I don't think I'm ever going to get, you know, the excitement about teaching is that every year you get a whole new group of kids who's going to react differently with the information, who's going to learn differently, and that's new and exciting. But like every year I was doing the same units, the same works of literature. You know, you bring new things in over time, but for the most part you're doing the same skill sets, you're doing the same thing. But with this job, I love that like every day is a new learning adventure. Like there's never a day where I have not learned something from somebody, you know what I mean? And I think that's the cool part of technology. And even as teachers, if you love to learn, that's the cool piece of technology. There's always something new that you can learn and bring to your kids if you want to, which is cool. So I think for this week, it's definitely going to be about personal learning, personalizing your learning, because that's kind of what you do at these conferences is you have like a million different choices that you can pick from, and you personalize what session you want to go to and how you want to learn. But it's like, how have you personalized your learning, you know, personally, professionally? You know, I could give you an example even personally. I used to love to cook, right? I used to just like love to cook. All the time I love to cook. And then I had kids, I got this job, and I was like, yo, everyone is eating a dino nugget tonight. You know, like the time that I had for cooking kind of went away. And as I've been kind of like reflecting on missing things in my life that I used to like to do, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do one of those cooking, like it like delivers it to your house. Home Chef, Hello Fresh, whatever. I think right now I'm using Home Chef, but I kind of swap them. And that has kind of brought back to me, like, I don't have to worry about the food shopping list. I don't have to worry about what am I making. My kids love it because the picture comes and they get to pick which picture meal they want, and they get to help me. And I found a way to kind of like reincorporate that love of learning and that love of trying new things and trying new foods kind of like back into it without the pressure of like, I don't have this ingredient. I need to go food shopping. What does my menu look like tonight? And I'm still bringing back something that I love to do. Like even last night I made like I picked, because I have all these different ones, like express, oven ready. I was like, you know what, tonight's an express meal, it takes 15 minutes. And, you know, I find that, like, my family loves it, and it's a way for me to cook and include them without, like, having this massive pressure when I get home every day. So I'm finding little ways to learn and keep learning and keep doing and learn more about what I love in my own new way, different than I maybe did before. So, you know, I think it's a good topic this week to just reflect on, like, personalized learning and how you do it, you know? What do you guys think?
I'm into the DiGiorno pizza that goes into the oven that your husband has introduced me to.
Yeah, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. He loves those pizzas. Yeah. He picks the little olives off.
He taught me about this pizza that I've never bought or tried before, but that's our go-to when it's crazy.
He loves it.
Yeah. He loves it. Stuffed cheese in the crust.
Yeah, that's what he gets. That's what he gets from Costco. Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think it's an important topic.
Hold on, can you say that again?
Yeah, it's on recording. I think you're right.
Oh!
I didn't say I know you're right. I said I think you're right.
You guys.
Whoa. I didn't say anything.
Yeah. He's not included yet.
No.
No, but I think it's a topic that, like, even if, I think the first way before even, like, going to conferences or any of those things that, of how I've, like, branched out and learned from other people was Twitter. And I think, like, people don't realize that you can learn by going to Twitter. And actually Twitter at one point was largely known just for educational topics. Like, it had more educational topics on there than, like, celebrity news and stuff like that.
I love Twitter.
So even if you're on Twitter, you know, once a day or once a week, like, there's a lot of resources and teachers that you can connect with there. So, yeah.
All right.
I don't know. All
right.
Have anything else to follow up with?
Oh, you don't have your drink. I was going to be like,
cheers.
Guys.
All right. Thanks,
just coffee.
guys.
We promise. Just coffee.
This is water.
Yeah.